Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It has been a frigid week in Michigan, probably all through the whole country. It's snowing in Florida. It's insanity right now. But this is the first day we've had like low 30s, which kind of almost feels like 80s. It's kind of balmy in Michigan today. So finally I could throw the heater on in the garage. I could come out and show you guys some stuff. We're trying to put together this very inexpensive beginner woodworker's tool set. And so far we've got a whole bunch of tools from Harbor Freight for under $100. We're missing a few key features though, one of which is an ability to plane and shape wood. Harbor Freight does offer two styles of hand planes. However, we've reviewed both of them and found them both not acceptable for what we want. My advice so far has been find a garage sale, find a swap meet or something and buy an old Stanley No. 4. And that does still reign true. However, I've had a bunch of subscribers tell me like, hey, I don't have access to a lot of garage sales where I live, or the swap meets are far and few in between. I don't know what to look for. I'd rather buy something new. I don't know, even if I did buy an old plane, how am I supposed to restore that? How am I gonna work on that? Oh man, after my last video, like I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna come back. Things should slow down at work. The next day I caught the flu and I've been down for like the past 4 or 5 days, just miserable. And I'm still kind of feeling it. In the Harbor Freight tool video, I had a subscriber ask me about the Amazon Basics hand plane. And at the time I didn't know Amazon Basics made a hand plane. So I went to Amazon and I searched it real quick and I came up with this listing. And I looked at it just off the pictures and I replied back with, you know what? I'm not a fan of when they make the hand planes with those dual, almost like spoke shave adjusters on the blade. They're really hard to get the plane blade straight and level the way you want it for a smoothing plane or any type of shaving plane. Those are more for spoke shaves where you want one side heavier than the other. It's also really hard to get those lined up perfectly so when you do plane, the slop out of them doesn't just immediately push the blade out of true. So I was like, not a fan of those. I wouldn't suggest it, but if you want to try it, go ahead. So then on Amazon, you know, a couple days ago in my sickness, I'm going through and I found, you know, where it's like, hey, you search this, you might be interested in this. Amazon Basics makes another style of hand plane. I wasn't aware of that at the time. So I looked at it and I bought it. So it's almost a Stanley No. 4, but it has some flavors of the record style hand planes with it as well. So I looked at it, I checked out the reviews and I liked it. I ordered it, it got delivered. Basically all I did was open it up and kind of take a glance at it. I haven't pulled it out of the box yet, haven't pulled it out of the plastic, but this is how it comes. So today we're gonna open this and we're gonna review it and see what it's all about. So this is the Amazon Basics No. 4 smoothing hand plane. Now, this plane came in, I think I bought this at $34. So it's about double the price of the Harbor Freight plane, but still under $50 for a brand new plane. That is an amazing deal. Opening up the box right away, they give you a bunch of paperwork and stuff, a book inside, basically every language, that basically tells you how to set up the plane, how to sharpen it, all the different parts of it. So if we pull it out, there's nothing else in here. Nope, it's just the plane with foam. And then the plane itself comes in this bag to probably keep it protected from rusting. It's probably got a bunch of machine oil on it, assuming it does. So taking a look at this, first impressions, it does have hardwood handles. They're not the best quality. The first impressions, the handles, the woodwork is not the best. You do have brass screws, which is nice. I do like that. The handle is nice. It seems a little short. Let's see. Right off the rip, you can tell that compared to the No. 4, They're about the same size. This Amazon Basics might be maybe a 1/4 inch longer. But the main thing that I see, that I'm not sure if you do right offhand, is right here. The angle of the frog is definitely steeper on the Amazon Basics over the Stanley. Now we can fix that with the level of the angle of the bevel on the blade. So that's not necessarily that big of a deal, but it might cause issues on more squirrely grain or something like that. But if we're working on soft pines, shouldn't be that big of an issue. The machining on the handles is pretty rough. It definitely has a lot of machine marks. You could tell these handles were made by machine, just kind of cutting, and there are a lot of like ridges and grooves, a lot of undulations in the handle itself, but nothing that I would say is a hot spot or anything. It's not like the Harbor Freight ones that had that plastic handle with the seam in it. There's nothing on here that's horrible. The blade does have a little bit of wobble in it in the back here. I think we might be able to fix that with just tightening the screw. We'll see. There are 2 screws in it. There's one at the top and one down at the bottom. So that is an improvement over the Stanley, maybe. We'll see. So the first problem we have with the Harbor Freight one is this lever cap here. They tried to copy Stanley's lever cap and it kept popping off. So the similarities between the record planes and that is this knob. So instead of the lever cap, they've gone with this tension knob on here that I can already pull and tell you it's not coming off. So we're already out of the gate better than Harbor Freight. All the hardware seems to be brass. So you just loosen this up and the lever cap should come off. So this is a very lightweight cast aluminum. It feels a little cheap. It feels definitely lightweight. I don't know that that's too big of an issue. You're not going to crank down on this too hard, but compared to like the Stanley, there's a pretty significant weight difference. This is a lot lighter, but the sizing is pretty much the same. So as far as width goes and all the dimensions go, they're about the same as the Stanley. It's just a little bit lighter material that they used. So we've got a fairly cheap but useful so far, looks to be functioning properly. Lever cap on the top. We could just tighten it down a little bit. Let's see. Just initial thoughts on. Uh-oh. There we go. That was weird. So it is progressing and retracting the blade fine. We've got a bunch of oil underneath here, but nothing terrible. So everything seems to be, from a functionality wise, is working good out of the box. So we've got that. So pulling this off, we've got the lever cap and blade combo. On the Harbor Freight one, the screw is protruding too far. This one's poking out a little bit, but not anywhere near as bad, and that is totally acceptable, especially with this cap. There's plenty of room for that screw to move around under. However, look at the size of the curve on this chip breaker compared to the Stanley. That's a pretty drastic difference there. I don't know that that's going to cause an issue or not. We'll find out when we start planing. But looking at it, I don't see any visible gaps between the blade and the chip breaker. So far it doesn't look terrible. There's a big scratch down the front of the top of the chip breaker. Everything's covered in oil. The blade doesn't look terrible. There's a ton of machine marks, but that's what we expect out of a plane that this quality or this price point. The blade does look at a decent bevel. It does look straight across. The chip breaker is way too far back, but can we take this Okay, so we can use the lever cap in this adjustment screw to loosen it. However, this is really thin and light. I don't know that I would suggest doing that a lot. I would suggest maybe just using a screwdriver. But the chip breaker should be like a 32nd of an inch back from the blade. So something more like that is how it should come. So, but the blade chip breaker package here doesn't look terrible other than this hump that has me a little bit concerned, but we'll see. It might function fine. So those are looking good. We've got a lateral adjustment lever here riveted on. That seems to be working decent. There's a little bit of slop, but it's not horrible. This lever here that goes inside this chip breaker hole, this is what sets your depth adjustment as you screw the adjustment knob in and out. This is nice and wide, almost exact match of the Stanley. It is also cast, looks like cast aluminum, but it looks like to be the same dimensions exactly as the Stanley plane. The Harbor Freight one was just two pieces of metal that were kind of spot welded together. It was real thin, didn't really give a lot, had a lot of vertical slop back and forth as you were adjusting the blade in and out. Didn't like that at all. This is much better. You have a brass knob on here, spins very, very well. The Frog has very nice brass screws holding it down. So here's the Frog. Machining on the surface of the Frog where the blade rests on is pretty rough. Again, at this price point, you're not gonna get perfection, but it's not terrible. Again, looks like a cast, this is cast iron. They did actually remove the paint from both sides of the Frog that slide, but again, kind of rough surface here and here. We can make that a little bit better with some 150 grit sandpaper, but not horrible. The adjustment screw, I said already before, it looks fine. This here is a little loose. Okay, that's what I thought. So here's that adjustment screw down at the bottom so you can adjust the depth of the Frog in and out. It sits in the screw fairly well. There's a little bit of slop, but not horrible. At the bottom of the sole, we've got thick black paint on everything, but it looks like they have taken off the paint on the sole where the Frog rides here. They've got some grooves put in here. I'm not sure if that's just to relieve dust or whatever, or put some oil in there. I'll tell you what, the thickness of this is even thicker than the Stanley. So we've got this wobble. Let's see, can we adjust that by just tightening this top screw here? Yeah, this one's pretty loose. Maybe it was just installed. Yeah, and that took that wobble away right away. Yeah, not bad at all. So I was able to get a shaving out of this, which is a significant improvement over the Harbor Freight plane. However, do you remember when I said this? The chip breaker is way too far back. The issue is, for some reason, I'm struggling here to figure out, so the casting, I think it's the casting is so thick on the sole of this plane that the distance between the Frog and the mouth is so wide that you have to have this thing fully, like, I mean, full, like to the point where the adjustment lever here isn't barely in the hole anymore in the chip breaker, pushed it so far forward to just be able to get a basic shaving out of it. You have to adjust this so far forward for the blade to even start to protrude through the mouth of the sole. That's a big problem, because to get it to actually work right, stop using the chip breaker or the lever cap. To get it to actually function right, you have to have it like this far back. That's going to cause all kinds of chatter. That's going to cause all kinds of issues with getting the chip breaker to work right. It's just not going to work. So I mean, here's a shaving. It is planing. It's planing, it's shaving. I don't know, man. So I don't know. It does work that way. It does plane out of the box. The blade does come fairly sharp. It was taking some decent shavings. Again, any hand plane, any type of edged tool that you're getting at a low price point, even at a high price point, you gotta expect to have to sharpen it by hand to get it to that razor sharp edge. Any chisel you're sharpening by hand out of the box. Any plane blade is just machine sharpened, right? So you're gonna have to get that really glassy, smooth plane. You're gonna have to sharpen the blade. I'm not expecting that perfection out of the box. However, this chip breaker having to be so far back to even get the blade to protrude properly through the mouth is a big issue. It does work. It does seem to be working on soft pine. I don't know if you start putting this against hardwoods, if that's going to cause a lot of chatter or what. I don't know. Yeah, like I'm like almost all the way out. And I'm not getting, and barely. Well, there's a little bit of blade out. But yeah, I'm all the way out. Look how far I have to be out. In its regular position, I have to be out this far to get the blade to protrude out just a little bit to take a shaving. All right, I got an idea. I wonder, since this is up so high, if I can flatten this out a little bit and bring that back down to that. I don't think I'm gonna get that much room, but I might get something. So I think I found a easy solution to fix this that gets you at least in a working ballpark. So we may have a little saving grace for this. So what I did is I took the chip breaker off that had that huge curve in it that I showed, and I put it in a vise and I flattened it down to where it kind of should be. And that was enough distance to get me to fairly close. I'm not as close as I would want to be with it. I usually want to be about a 32nd to a 16th of an inch. We're closer to about an 1/8 of an inch here. Maybe not. We're a little fat of a 16th. While I'm not 100% thrilled to say, yep, this is our hand plane we're going to use for our woodworking on a budget series, it is a C+, B- passable, acceptable tool. So we will use it. This is what we're going to go with. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to tune this thing up to actually make it take a nice glass smooth shaving. We're going to fix some of the issues, most of it just with some sandpaper. We're going to put an edge on the blade. We're going to fix all that up, but that will be in the next video. For now, we've got this taking a shaving out of the box. We know it works. It's a decent tool. It's not bad. Amazon did really, really well. If they could fix this one issue with their the chip breaker having to be so far back, if they could fix that with just bringing that chip breaker down a little bit, I think, and maybe taking another pass. Like, this bottom sole is so thick. If they were to take another couple thousandths even off of the sole of this plane in manufacturing when they're come through to flatten it, I think it would be a lot better. You'd have less issues, but I think between the thickness of the sole and the chip breaker issue is just, that's where we're having those issues with the blade coming in and out. But In the next video, the next video about this plane, we're gonna tune it up, we're gonna fix it. We're going to make some adjustments and really kind of tune this thing into becoming the precision-ish tool that we want it to be. So, as far as this tool goes, I'm giving it a pass, but it's like, it's the kid in class that like barely does what he should, but you can't fail him. You pass. So that's it for today. If you like this type of content, subscribe down below, give me a thumbs up, comment, do all that fun stuff. I hope you're liking this woodworking series. Once we get all the remaining tools that we need, we have got planing kind of sorted now. Next thing we have to do is find a way to drill holes. And once we're there, we've got our tool set complete. I've got a bunch of plans to build some actual projects and things with these tools, some beginner woodworking type things that are real simple. We're gonna get into woodworking and start learning more, kind of back to the basics type of thing. For beginners that are wanting to get into this, but don't have a lot of money or time, I'm gonna show you a bunch of different ways that I learned as I was learning this stuff, and I'm still learning this stuff. So by no means am I a professional. Don't take anything I say as the word of God or anything. But I'm learning as I go, but this is the stuff I learned kind of the hard way as I was trying to teach myself how to do this stuff. I figured I'd pass that on to you. So anyway, do all the things. I'll see you on the next one.